Okay, I am about to do a video, or I'm trying to do a video just to send to a Facebook group with a lot of my friends and family. It's from this Freedom from the Shell business, or like hobby that my wife and I had started. And oh man, it's quite awkward. I feel really, really awkward and cringy. And I've written out a thing, and I've got the AI to go through and just polish it up a bit, and like reading it, it's I don't know, it's not the best, and I'm a bit worried that if I might miss some of the points that I want to make. Although I think it's probably going to be better, but either way, I've decided that I'll just make a quick self inquiry before I do it, so that I can um, embrace that cringiness a little bit beforehand and see how it goes. And I'm hoping that this is just a little example of what it is I'm doing with people and what I'm asking, the help I'm asking for, I guess. So, so I've just told this story, right? And it's about the awkwardness of what I'm attempting to do, and and self inquiry. It just asks a simple question of what is it that's actually here, right? I'm saying that I feel awkward, and so what is it that what does that awkwardness entail? And suffering is this movement away from something that's here, something that's in our sphere in that moment. And anything we can experience about ourselves is only ever a thought in the mind and a sensation in the body. So, so I'm just closing my eyes just to go in a little bit, just to get rid of a little bit of the external attention, and to be able to see the thoughts a little bit better. And as I say the word awkward, I can feel the awkwardness in my body, and I feel it as like a tension that runs down through the center here, and then a little bit in the back, the lower back. There's this sense of being awkward, and suffering is always these two things: this sensation in the body and some thought that's coming up into the mind. So as I'm feeling into that feeling of awkwardness, I look up into my mind, and I'm looking to see what thoughts are there, that give meaning to the sensation, that make it awkward. And generally, at the heart of all of this is always a sense of self here. That's why it's called self-inquiry, because you're sort of looking for and observing the sense of self that is at the heart of the suffering. And I mean, I'm explaining it a little bit, but these things are just better to find as you go through it yourself. So I'm feeling this awkwardness, and the sensation itself is kind of getting bigger as I sit with it, and let it be here. Let the awkwardness be here. It's wrapping around the belly, and it feels like it's just uncomfortable. It's not a very nice feeling. And so I'm looking now up into my mind. I'm looking at what's the cause of this awkwardness. What comes with this sensation is another way to say it. And okay, and then so there's a shock that happens when I am not able to find words. I see that in my mind. I see the image of me kind of in shock about not being able to say something. Like that pause without any action. is a bit shocking in this moment, and so I'm a bit afraid of that. I can see that I'm afraid of staying in that place where nothing is coming out. And the common sort of question for this is, what is that saying about me? What is that situation saying about me where nothing's coming out? And I see in my mind an image of me sort of running and hiding. And I notice that the sensation in the body is now, it's turned into fear. I'm afraid. And then there's this sort of words or narrative that's coming over the top. I'm afraid that I'm going to be found out. I'm afraid that I'm going to be seen as a fraud, or that people would see through me. Yeah, like this sort of constant talking that happens at times is a way to distract from someone actually seeing into me, seeing me. I'm afraid to be seen is how all of that simplifies in my mind. I'm afraid to be seen. And then you've hit on something too when the body responds. So I can feel those words as they come through my mind. I feel them in the pit of the stomach as this contraction. I'm afraid to be seen. This contraction in the belly. And we're equally as afraid of the situation as we are of the feeling or the thought that's coming into the mind. It's happening in both ways. It's happening outside of us as the situation, but it's also happening internally as the thought or the sensation. So self-inquiry really is just about slowly turning back towards. Like as a facilitator, I see myself as just helping people to turn back towards themselves and their experience, because the suffering is that escape from something. And part of this talking, I can see it now, part of this talking is actually an escape from the feeling as well. It gives me a little barrier between the feeling and feeling it. So I apologize if I'm still kind of doing it. Okay, so what do I do now? Well, if the thought comes, what do I do now? Then that's something else. That's something else here that needs to be looked at. And that has an image and that has a feeling in the body as well. So how that comes for me is I feel in the shoulders, I feel this tension sort of in the shoulders, and I see the image of me trying to run away. What do I do? What do I do in the mind? That seems to be where the suffering is in the moment. And so what happens is, as I'm feeling this and I'm watching what's happening in the mind, the image goes through and it resolves itself. So I see in my mind the image of me stopping and just going, well, what else can I do? And then that in itself actually stops the fear, because there's this realization that, I can't get away from it. I can't get away from anything. It's just here. It's not even that I need to accept it. And all of this is happening as an image in my mind. And it might come as words, but it's some form of insight that affects the entirety of the being. And it's coming as kind of, it's the antidote to the what am I doing, is this, well, there's nowhere to go and there's nothing to see. And that just slows everything down, and it actually stops the fear in this moment. And okay, interesting. So now it swings back around to the start. I see in my mind me making this video for this Facebook group for friends and family, and at the start of it, I'm there with that shock that it started with, and the thing that I didn't want to feel, which was making me procrastinate and not do the video, not want to do the video, was that initial feeling of like shock and like of not being able to say anything and being open. It's about being open and vulnerable in that moment. And so I'm just standing here now in that openness and vulnerability. In vulnerability, it's interesting. It's a little Freudian slip because it is. Okay, so that's another insight that came. It shows me that this being vulnerable is also being invulnerable. And I can't rationalize that so much, but it came in as a knowing. It came in as an insight. Yeah, and there's a gratitude that's here now. And it's a little bit tinged with the sadness, which is interesting. Yeah, like I'm recognizing I know this already, but the beautiful thing about self-inquiry is that knowing and the insight is fresh every time. And I'm seeing in my mind this kind of conversations that I've had this morning and, with the friend yesterday, and I just recognize the beauty of meeting people in this way. And, I'm seeing like the usual sort of conversations are all like centered around the mind and there's victim stories and, success stories, but they're all like stories nonetheless. And there's a beauty in that too. Like I recognized this morning when I was speaking to my cousin that he just needed to talk. He needed to talk and get the whole story out, and there's a benefit of that as well. But this is showing me, the reason, the thing I'm asking for with this group and with the friends and family is this help with the streaming, and the streaming is a live this. Except it's on both sides, and it's this backwards and forwards movement between me and another person, and it's like a conversation, and it's something that I just like the welling I feel, and the gratitude I feel from it is just really deep. But okay, but let's get back to it because I know there's not that much time. So, okay, so what are my options in terms of this video? Is that I can just sit there and read the thing. It's true, but I don't, like I'm looking at the screen, I'm not looking at you. So maybe I need to take a bit more time to look up and down, and then okay, but there's an interestingness, like there's an interesting practicality that arises out of this too, because when there's no emotional sort of component, or when there's no debilitating emotional component, then the decisions that you can make are easier, because you can also sit in not deciding. I'm like waffling a little bit now. It's okay. Okay, so again, practically, how do I feel now? I feel like I can do this video thing a little bit easier after doing this. Yeah, with a bit, and I see it, and I feel it. I feel it open up a little bit here to be more warmth, and more engaging and more connected, and I think I'm just going to leave it there. So, thanks.